Hello, and welcome to another episode of Real World Analytics, or What Schools Don't Teach You. This is the first installment of my visualization series, where I look at different R packages that I've used in order to better communicate results to stakeholders. This is going to be the first of the series, and today I want to talk about a package called googleVis. googleVis is an R API interface to Google Charts. If you go to developers.google.com/charts, you'll get this kind of landing page where you can look at different a gallery, customization options, etc. So at a high level, I want to talk about my assessment of googleVis and some points around it, starting with some pros and then some cons. The first pro is that this is maintained by Google, so I trust Google's professional software development skills. I trust it to be robust. I trust it to be maintained. I trust continuous improvement, and so I consider this to be a strength. Unfortunately, I also consider this to be a negative to using googleVis because you don't control this, and if Google wants to change this or stop supporting it in the future, there's very little you can do. Another positive that I see is there's many chart types. So if you go through the gallery, you can see this long list of different charts and different options and many different possibilities for how to communicate with stakeholders. As before, unfortunately, I also see this as a negative because if stakeholders have many choices for what they want to see, there's a good chance they'll want to see many of them, and it can lead to a situation where you're asked for line graphs and bar graphs and histograms and pie charts and largely the same information presented 20 different ways without adding much value. Another positive is that these are interactive, so you have tooltips, you can click them, you can make your reports dynamic, you can include this with Shiny so that you can specify the data you want to use, you can filter the data you want to use, etc. Now, conversely, if you're used to using Word or PowerPoint or you're used to printed documents, this isn't going to help you. So if you're in the situation where most of your stakeholders come to meetings with their computers or tablets or their phone even, they can use googleVis outputs interactively to better understand your data and better understand what actions they can take from your insights. Another pro is the fact that it's customizable. This is built on top of a JavaScript API. So if you know JavaScript, you can use your knowledge in order to customize the colors, the sizes, etc. Now, the final con I want to talk about is that this does require an internet connection. So even if you do all of your processing offline, you've got all of your data ready and everything else, because you're hitting the Google API, you need to have an internet connection working in order to use it. Well, today I'm going to be talking about an introduction to Google Charts. I'm going to be talking in greater detail about three types. Motion charts. These are similar to what's popularized by the great Hans Rosling, if you've ever seen something like this, where in addition to, oh my God, the dots are moving, what sorcery is this? You can communicate a large amount of information to your stakeholders because a lot of this is configurable. So you can change the axes on the fly, for instance, change the scaling from linear to log, and there's a lot of other great things that you can do with motion charts in addition to make the dots move. The second type of chart I'll be discussing is a Sankey, which is here, where you're looking at transitions. And I've used this not only to show the difference in per capita GDP of different countries, as I have here with all of the tooltip information, but I also use this for customer journeys. And finally, I'm going to be looking at gauges. Now, if you're a data visualization aficionado, you may look at a simple gauge and be uncomfortable with this or think that surely there's something better. And yes, there is, but I will have my reasons why I want to talk about gauges, so please bear with me. You can install this in the standard way for installing a package in R, and if you do so, you'll note that there's a number of commands that you're going to use. This follows a nice pattern where most of the plotting commands start with gviz. There are demos and vignettes, and so if you go through some of those, you can understand at an introductory level how all this works. I will give a word of advice if you're going to be looking at motion charts like this. If you saw me playing it, you will see everything move nicely. It is a bit enthralling to see the sorcery of the dots moving. But if you go to the motion chart page, it's possible that there will be no example for you. This is because these charts use Flash, And some browsers by default do not enable Flash. So it is a little amusing that here on Google Chrome, looking at Google Charts, it doesn't display properly, but never mind. If I want this to show up, I can click here for the view site information, and under site settings, there's the option to enable Flash. So if I allow that and come back, it allows me to reload the page. And once I do so, there's my chart. So if you're looking at the motion charts, if you're looking at trying to show them yourself and the standard RStudio browser opens, if you don't have Flash enabled in your RStudio browser, you'll see nothing. You need to open it in a browser and make sure Flash is enabled. So be ready for that just in case it's not working for you. That's my basic introduction to googleVis. It is worth an installation, and to play around with it, note there are the terms of service. This is a Google product. Run through the vignettes, try some of the demos, and I'll be back next time to talk about motion charts, Sankey charts, and then gauges. But what do you think? Do you use Google Charts? Are there any that you particularly enjoy? Are there any that work well for you when dealing with clients? I'd be interested to hear what your experience is with googleVis. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time on Real World Analytics, or What Schools Don't Teach You. Goodbye.